What's up guys, this is TopTierYugioh, and this is going to be another discussion video of one of the resources that you can use within the game. And so we've already talked about the resources that you start with but naturally lose, aka your life points with the Philosophy of Fire. We've talked about what you start with and naturally gain, aka your cards and card advantage. But now we're going to talk about the resource that you don't start with but do naturally gain throughout the game. And so today we're going to be talking about tempo. So let's go ahead and get into it. And so once again, tempo is a resource that you don't start with but naturally gain. So what do we actually gain in Yu-Gi-Oh? So like if we don't do anything, we don't have any cards, we don't make any plays, what do we still gain? Beside of course what we draw in our draw phase. And the only things that we gain are time and opportunity. And so time is sort of inherent, but by opportunity I mean the ability to play the game. And so every turn we get one normal summon, one pendulum summon, and one battle phase. And within that battle phase, each monster can only attack one time. Each turn, we gain another normal summon, pendulum summon, battle phase, and each monster can attack one more time. And now these don't accumulate, and so that's what I mean by opportunity. We gain the opportunity to do these things. So once again, Yu-Gi-Oh is all about resource management and trading your resources for other resources. And Yu-Gi-Oh is full of X for Y trades. And if either X or Y refers to a player's life points, then we're talking about the Philosophy of Fire. If both X and Y refer to cards, then it's card advantage. However, if either X or Y refer to a player's ability to play the game or make plays, then that is tempo. And so we mentioned that tempo is related to your normal summon, your pendulum summon, and attacking, but it can also be extended to anything that you do and your ability to do anything within the game. And so if you think of some of the normal game mechanics, such as activating spells, activating traps, those are other things that tempo can refer to. But how can we trade our cards for the ability to play or activate other things? So I think one example is actually VANITY'S Emptiness. And so if you just read VANITY'S Emptiness, it's very simple. Your opponent can't special summon. It doesn't give you any cards. It doesn't take any cards away from your opponent. You don't gain or lose life points. You can't actually just win the game with VANITY'S Emptiness. It can't attack. However, it does lead to you usually winning the game, or whoever's activating it will usually win the game. But what is that? You're not gaining cards. Again, so it's not card advantage. It's not fire because there's no exchange of life points. So what you gain when you activate VANITY'S Emptiness is tempo. You're taking away your opponent's ability to play the game, you're taking away their tempo. Another example would be Dimensional Barrier, where again there's no life point exchange, so it's not fire. It is a -1, because you activate Barrier and then Barrier goes to the graveyard, so you lose that card. However, once again, it's so powerful. And the reason it is so powerful is because you're trading that card for your opponent's ability to play the game. Barrier is a tempo card. And usually most floodgates are examples of this. So if you look at Anti-Spell Fragrance or Genzo or anything like that, Royal Decree, Summon Limit, all of those cards take away your opponent's ability to play. They usually don't give you any other cards in the process, they don't affect your opponent's life points, they only stop them from playing. You could look at other cards such as Effect Veiler and Breakthrough Skill, or again they're also -1s in terms of card advantage, but their strength is obvious in that you're trading that card for your opponent's ability to activate an effect. And so those are all examples of taking tempo away from your opponents. You can also give yourself more tempo. And so if you look at a card like Double Summon, it's very simple, it allows you to normal summon one more time. And so you are trading that card for the ability to summon again. And there's also Brilliant Fusion, which allows you to summon Seraph Knight most of the time, and Seraph Knight gives you an extra normal summon. And so Brilliant Fusion is a card that gives you an extra normal summon, so it gives you tempo, and it gives you a monster, so it gives you card advantage. And then because it's also sort of a foolish burial, it can really... Brilliant Fusion does a lot of things, and giving yourself tempo is one of them. You can also give yourself more opportunities to attack. So if you look at a card like Megalo, you tribute a monster, and Megalo can attack twice. So you're trading that monster that you tributed for the ability to attack twice. So again, trading cards for the ability to play the game. And earlier I also mentioned that tempo is related to time. And you can also take time away from your opponent or give yourself more time. And so if you look at a card like One Day of Peace, One Day of Peace is inherently a -1. You both draw a card but you lose One Day of Peace. But your opponent can't do any damage to you. So what did you gain? Well, you gained another turn. Your opponent can't kill you on this next turn, so you've given yourself more time. Same with something like Waboku or Threatening Roar. You take away your opponent's ability to beat you or to attack or deal damage, and you give yourself an extra turn. So you're trading that card for an extra turn. And this is sort of the equivalent of the whole Towers type of deck, to where you might lose card advantage, but you would summon a monster that your opponent can't beat in most hands, and so you're putting them on a clock. You're taking away time from your opponent. So like, If you summon the towers, towers had 3000 attack, your opponent has 3 turns to draw out the towers. If they don't, you win. And so you're taking away your opponent's time, because they can no longer play after 3 turns. They don't get that 4th turn that they naturally would have gotten. And so that's what it means to take tempo away from your opponent in terms of time. But now, why is this important? Why do we care about tempo? And so we know that it's a resource within the game, but why is it important to really think deeply about? So I think it's important to think about tempo, because to control the tempo is to be able to give yourself more chances to win, or to deny your opponent the chance to win. And if your opponent isn't given a chance to win, so if you completely control the tempo, then they lose, or you win, which is what we all want in the game, right? So understanding this theory and how it works allows us to correct for this within our deck building, especially when side decking. Because the whole goal of your side deck is to build the optimal deck for the game, right? If you're going second in a duel, would it make sense for you to side cards that take tempo away from your opponent? Probably not, because those are reactive cards. They don't do anything once your opponent's already done them. If your opponent's already normal summoned, you can't take away that normal summon. But in a similar fashion, if you're going first, you definitely should side in cards to take tempo away from your opponent, because you have the ability to set them up first and then keep your opponent from making plays on their turn. And so even though they have a 6th card, you want to be sure to take that tempo away from them so they can't actually use it. And so it really ties into the whole going first or going second thing. And there are other approaches to it. So like if you look at Kaiju Zodiac, they main deck and play Kaijus. And the reason for this is that when you're going second and your opponent is playing cards that take tempo away from you, the Kaijus allow you to trade those cards for your tempo back. And so like if my opponent has a Drancia or a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, or I don't know, Void Ogre Dragon, a Unicorn, or whatever, but I have a Kaiju, I contribute their monster for a Kaiju, and yes, I go -1, but I'm able to trade that card for the ability to actually play again. And in a nutshell, it's sort of like, my opponent can have all the cards in the world, and they can have all the life points, and I can have 1 life point, like literally 1 life point. But if they cannot play the game, then guess who wins this game? So they can have 20 cards in their hand, but if they're all special summons under Vanities, then they lose. And so now that we've talked about card advantage, the philosophy of fire, and tempo, we've covered all 3 resources within the game. And so just to summarize them one more time, trading cards for life points is the philosophy of fire, trading cards for other cards is card advantage, and trading cards for your ability to play is tempo. And to be able to manage all of these resources within the game is to win. And so thank you for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed these theory videos. I think they're really important to both deck building and technical play. I think you need to know these things, but it's something that is often overlooked. Like, we all know that VANITY'S Emptiness is good. We all know that Unicorn is good. But I think when we think critically about it, it allows us to make better decisions when deck building, because it's easy to say, oh, VANITY'S Emptiness is good, so why should I side out a good card, right? Well, you should side that good card out going second, because your opponent's probably going to stop you from playing anyways, and you can't stop their play once it's already happened. Or it's easy to say, oh, Pot of Desires is +1 in terms of card advantage, so it must be a good card in my deck, right? That's not always true, because in some decks you need cards in your deck to play. And so you activate Pot of Desires, you banish the top 10 cards to your deck, but if you banish something that you need to play, you have lost the ability to play the game, and therefore the ability to win the game. So that also goes back to tempo. The reasoning behind not playing multiple desires, even in decks that it's good in, a lot of times falls into the philosophy of fire, in that you start with and naturally lose cards in your deck. If you activate 3 desires, you lose the game, because on your first turn you draw 5, so there's 35 cards left in your deck. If you've activated 3 desires, you've banished 30 cards in your deck and you've drawn 6. So you've actually lost the game once you've activated 3 desires, which is why theory points to the idea that you should only play 2 in most decks. And so again, although a lot of these theories seem very basic if you look at it on a top level, if you look at it very deeply and you sort of combine them together, you sort of start understanding why you should make certain plays and why you should make certain decisions in your deck building. If you like this video, please like, comment, or subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.